What's up, fight fans? Back at it with another one. All right. So, in this video, we're gonna be talking about the monster Inoue and versus Stephen Kubo Fulton. So, without further ado, let's get right back into this video. Now, the American fighter Stephen Kubo Fulton, he has 21 fights, 8 ways by knockout. In his career, he has gone 143 rounds. And in his division, 122-pound division, there are 1,223 registered fighters, which he holds the WBC and the WBO championship. Okay. Now, the monster Inoue is just coming off of unifying the titles at 118 pounds, which his record now stands at 25 fights, 22 ways by big ways of knockout, and he currently holds the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO champion. He's also the Ringside Magazine and the Litter as well. Now, okay, the reason why I'm making this video right here is because I found out a few interesting things. One, Stephen Kubo Fulton does not have a fight scheduled yet. I don't care what they're telling you guys or what you think you heard. He does not have a fight scheduled. Okay. What he's doing is he's trying to push for this date that they had targeted. He wanted to try to fight Brandon Figueroa at a catch weight at 126 pounds. And Inoue stepped into the division. When he petitioned the WBO, Brandon Figueroa, I guess, eyes went elsewhere, and that fight kind of got derailed a little. Okay. Now, what I find very interesting is this: that Bob Arum right now is negotiating a fight between Donaire and Jason Maloney for the WBC title. Paul Butler is trying to fight for the WBO title, okay? And Inoue's little brother's name came up for the IBF and the WBA, as Manny Rodriguez, the one that Inoue beat, okay, for the IBF and the WBA titles, okay, because they just fought a title and eliminator fight and he won. The reason why I bring all this up is because all those belts I just mentioned, those are Inoue's belts. That's right, at 118 pounds. Jason Maloney and Donaire want to fight for the WBC 118-pound championship. How could they do that if Inoue owns that belt? That means he vacated all 4 belts. If Bob Arum is going around arguing already to get in line to fight for his 2 fighters to fight for those 2 belts, and other promoters are scrambling to get their fights, and Paul Butler is trying to get a shot back at it, a crack at his WBO title that he just lost to Inoue, meaning that Inoue has notified the sanctioning bodies that he's already vacating the titles and he is in fact moving up in weight. So that part is official. Inoue is registered as in registry right now. If you were to go online, he is registered at 122 pounds now. Yes, he is. That's his new division. Okay. Now, whether Fulton stays in the division or moves up in weight. Now let's see where this lies for Fulton. Now I made a video just before this video and I told you that Fulton needed more time. Okay, and I believe that Fulton knows that and his coaching knows that, and that's why they're pushing for this date. He doesn't have a fight schedule, but what he's pushing is for that date because in the hope of the event that Inoue wouldn't be ready. Sources already say that Inoue's already back in the gym. And he's coming off this fight with Paul Butler. He might have wanted to take a little bit of time off, but he really didn't. So what are we talking here? A 2-month difference, right? Because if Fulton fights, let's say, March, right? If he schedules a fight in March, then Inoue could be ready early April, May. He could be ready to fight Fulton there. But Fulton doesn't want to wait for Inoue. Fulton is trying to get a fight in between so that to see if Inoue can get another fight so they can meet later in 2023, late 2023, which buys him time. Also gives him another fight experience, more experience, and it gives him time to work on some things to go into this highly anticipated matchup with Inoue. Okay? Because I'm going to tell you right now, even if you were to take Inoue's power away from Inoue, let's say that Fulton can take Inoue's power. What are you left with? You're left with a superior fighter, still boxer, still standing in front of you. So if Fulton was able to take Inoue's power, he still is going to have to deal with Inoue's boxing ability. Okay? He is a very skilled boxer, no matter what. And I tell you what, I don't know about you guys, but I'd rather get hit by a sledgehammer one time than repeatedly all night. Inoue keeps hitting him with that shot. That's gotta hurt. You get hit 40, 30 times with that shot. Look, he might be able to take his power, but for how long? How many rounds in and out, in and out, in and out is Fulton going to be able to take those kind of shots? And if you're thinking that Inoue, a skilled fighter like him, what Fulton brings to the table, that piston-like jab, that kind of jab that like Devin Haney has or Shakur Stevenson, where that they're able to hold their fighters at bay. Well, the Monster Inoue is not those fighters, and he knows how to nullify a jab. He also knows how to work around the jab. Okay, and he's not gonna stand there all night like George Camboza did against Devin Haney and not be able to get underneath his jab. This is not about the taller man. One guy's 5'5" and the other guy's 5'6". So their reach is almost similar too as well. So look, you're not gonna beat the Monster Inoue with a jab, and you're not gonna outpoint him. He's not the type of fighter that's just gonna stand there and try to jab with you and do nothing else. He has an arsenal of punches, different angles, and he hits to the body very well. In order to keep the monster, and if Fulton has any chance, he needs to keep him in the center of the ring. He can't go up against the ropes because Monster's a magician when it comes to getting that sweet spot under your guard, right under your elbow where your liver is. He hits those shots, you know, and in order for the Monster to hit you with a body shot, bro, he has to be standing in front of you or on the side of you or whatever, but he has to be close to you is what I'm saying. If you can keep him at bay, you're taking away some of that body work. What you're going to have to pay attention to is the straight jab to the body. Okay? So you're going to have to pay attention to that. I'd rather deal with that than deal with those liver shots. So stay off the ropes. Fulton's going to have to hit him with the jab, but he's also going to have to give him something to gain his respect. At the same time, give him something to go up on points to win. I don't see no Fulton knocking him out, so it's going to be a long night. He's going to have to maintain this for 12 rounds. Now, we all seen people can run away from the Monster for 12 rounds, but they're not going to make it an interesting fight, and they're not there to win. They're there to survive. That's a difference. Is Fulton there to win, or is he just merely there to survive at this point? Because the Monster Inoue has taken many of those fighters, he turned them into retreating fighters and one-punch fighters, which means that all Paul Butler was doing was covering up and waiting to see if the Monster made a mistake so he could hit him with that one shot. And the Monster has already recognized this. He already knows he's turned you into a one-punch fighter. Okay? So, that being said, you know, Stephen Kubo Fulton has to keep it in the center of the ring, and he has to train to keep a high punch out. Yeah, a high punch volume. He's going to have to throw above average what he normally throws in one round fight for 12 rounds. That's what he's going to have to do. He's going to have to keep the monster at bay and off of him. And hopefully the monster has a bad night on top of that, because you're going to need a lot to beat this kid. Because if the monster shows up, look, Lopez had Fulton in all kinds of trouble. He had hurt him to the bodies in their fight. And the one thing I noticed about Lopez, he only had one good wheel. He only had one good leg. If you remember in that fight, he had a brace on his other leg. He couldn't step forward like he wanted to. And he couldn't keep the pressure on Fulton when he had him hurt against the ropes. That's the difference between the monster and all Fulton's fighters. That even when they had Fulton hurt, notice in those fights, those guys had to take breaks and rest in between. And Fulton was able to move around them and survive the round. If he's hurt like that with the monster Inoue, I don't believe he's making it to his corner. I really don't believe that. I believe the Fulton and who he's fought, there's way different quality of fighters than the monster Inoue. Case in point. Okay. We've seen in past boxing matches great fighters go against each other. And we've seen some epic fights. Then we've seen that same fighter go against another fight, and they were not the same. Okay. Floyd Mayweather fought Arturo Gatti. Okay. And when Arturo Gatti fought against Mickey, right? Those were three epic, legendary fights. Those are Hall of Fame fights. Those were wars. And I'm going to tell you right now, Arturo Gatti is a fighter. He is a fighter's fighter. He's the kind of guy, cut eyes, let's go. And he gives you an exciting fight. But when I saw him fight against Floyd Mayweather, it was hard to watch. And there were points in that fight, I remember I was covering my eyes from the beating that Mayweather was giving to him. It was becoming uncomfortable to watch. I had never seen up until that point a champion fight another champion and literally not land one punch in the entire fight. Arturo Gatti didn't land one punch in that entire fucking fight, bro. All he did was take an ass whooping from Floyd Mayweather. It was brutal. And everybody in the world, including myself, thought it would be a little better than that. I thought Arturo Gatti for all these epic fights. I said, come on, man. I knew Mayweather was going to beat him. But what he did to that man, I did not expect that. I did not expect that. And he made a world-class champion look like an amateur, bro. Arturo Gatti should have never been in that ring with Mayweather that night. Or any other night. He should have never fought that man. Okay? It was just brutal. And if you got time, go look at it. That's what happens when you see your favorite fighter fight against a better fighter. In your head, you're thinking, well, Stephen Coolboy Fulton did this against Brandon Figueroa. Well, it wasn't really hard to hit that man when that man was just pressure fighting you and he was going in on you. It wasn't hard to hit him. He wasn't really evasive now, was he? Okay? Now, when he fought against Roman, he was kind of a shutout. I believe Fulton won, if not every round in that fight. I think he won every round in that fight. But was it a dominant performance like that? Right? So, Inoue's not these guys. He is not. And I don't think that Fulton is going to look as good and as dominant against kind of champion like Inoue is. First of all, you could have all those speeds and all those traits, but if you can't land any of that shit and he can nullify that, it's going to be a really long night for you. Inoue is the type of fighter that from the moment the bell rings, he's taking up information. Every single punch that man throws is for a reason. It's calculated. He wants to see when you throw your jab, do you move back? Are you a side to side fighter? Do you duck? Okay. If he hits you to the body, how do you react? If I throw this jab, what are you throwing back at me when I throw my jab at you? So I see that your plan is to jab either with me, or is your jab to try to nullify my jab? Are you trying to come over my shot? And Inoue is really good in these kind of things. And when you have such a skill level fighter, um, and you got two guys that are highly skilled like this, I can see how Fulton could give him problems, but if he doesn't get Inoue's respect early, okay, and he doesn't give Inoue something to think about coming in, Inoue's not gonna stop. Inoue's gonna keep digging and hitting you with these big shots. And like I said, you could take a couple of those shots. Okay, you could, but for how long? But for how long? So as of right now, Stephen Kubo Fulton does not have a fight scheduled. He's trying to make this date to push to see if Inoue won't be able to make it the date. Okay, Inoue's belts are already being talked about for other fighters. So he's serious about moving up to the 122-pound weight division. That's a fact. Who he's going to fight, what, where, when, and for whose belt, that yet to be seen. But I do know one thing for 100% fact. And this wood is 100% fact. Let's say Stephen Cool Bull Fulton really wanted that smoke. It wouldn't take him nothing to go like that and schedule a fight, because Inoue's already petitioned the WBO, and all Fulton had to do was say yes, and they would arrange the fight. That is exactly how fast that would happen. The only way that there's no talks about this fight yet being scheduled is because one half of the party is not sure. And if Inoue petitioned the WBO, well, we know what side it wants to fight. You don't petition to fight the champion because you don't want to fight him. So the smoke is coming from Inoue's side. You understand? Now the decision has to be made on the other side. That's how that works. There's no third person involved here. There's only two people. And if one person say I want to fight, what are you saying? It's common sense, bro. It's common sense. Okay? So if you don't have a fight scheduled and your schedule is cleared and oh look, no fight schedule. What's the problem? If you're that dude and you're saying you're the baddest man at 122, you got no fight scheduled, and I'm petitioning to fight you, what's the problem? Whose end is doing what? I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to connect the dots on this one. Okay? Inoue has vacated his belt and it's official. So now that what we're waiting is the what, where, why, and when. I don't know if Fulton's going to honor this. I don't know if Fulton's going to vacate his belt and move up. I don't know if Fulton is going to try to push that date that he had with Brandon Figueroa and try to make it like a real thing. Hopefully that Inoue won't take the fight in such short notice. Do you know what I'm saying? Because it would only be 2 months. If Fulton tries to fight in March, that's only 2 months away. He's going to bank on the fact that Inoue wouldn't be ready for that, right? But now, what are we talking here? Like I said at the beginning of the video, like we're talking a month or two out. You mean, you couldn't give Inoue that month and a half, and instead of fighting him in March, fight him in April, May. And you could have this super mega fight. You're only talking a month and a half, 2 months training. You know what I mean? Start your training camp just a month later and give Inoue the 4 months that he needs to get in shape or to get ready for the fight. And we could have the biggest fight we have. But that's not what's going to happen. if he gets a fight in between there, it buys him more time, and we wouldn't be seeing a Nui Fulton fight into the ending of 2023. And that's when the fight, or yeah, like the ending of 2023. That's when it'll probably happen, because Fulton will get a fight, and then Inui's gonna get a fight in between there. You know he is. So Inui's gonna be fighting at the tail end of the year if he doesn't get the Fulton fight. So they would meet sometimes November, December. Yeah, yeah, man. At the end of the year, that's when they would end up coming if they were to make the fight happen, and that's the year that I'm talking about that Fulton needed. I said it in my last video. Fulton needs like a year or so more, a little bit more preparing in order to give Inouye a better fight. You know what I mean? So hopefully these things come to fruition. But for 100% fact, yeah, it looks like Inouye vacated those belts. And so it looks like he's coming to 122. And you don't vacate your belts to fight a tune-up fight. You don't vacate your belts to fight for an interim title. You're not coming to for I want to become the WBC gold, the champion of Lake Erie. You know what I mean? You don't do that. So he's definitely fighting for somebody's belts. It's just who, what, where, and when. And maybe Fulton can shock the world. Maybe Fulton can be like, you know what? I'll take the fight. And he want to shut up all these people and these critics and stuff. But if he takes this fight, listen, win, lose, or draw. If he takes this fight right now, I wouldn't have nothing to say about Fulton, man. Listen, he will get my respect, okay? Because it clearly shows you that the best wanting to fight the best, and not everybody might end their career with that. Oh, everybody wants to be Mayweather. Some people don't want to make these fights because they don't want to put their undefeated record on the line. And that's a lot when you're undefeated and you're going through your career and you're already up there about 20 something fights and still undefeated. You could start to see that light at that tunnel, like maybe I could do this, maybe I could retire undefeated. And a lot of people don't want to start taking a lot of big chances anymore. You know what I mean? Because nobody wants to give up their O. But if Stephen Kubo Fulton takes this fight, the monster's undefeated, he's undefeated. One of these guys are giving up their O that night on that night. Who that is, that yet to be seen. But I'm just saying right now that it is a 100% fact. Stephen Kubo Fulton does not have a fight scheduled. I don't know where people are getting this from, but I know this for a fact. He does not have a fight scheduled. His schedule is clear. He's in the talks, and he wants to make some couple fights. And now that Inoue threw a monkey wrench into the equation with the WBO and the WBC, the WBO is the one that he has to, Stephen Kofor might have to honor first, because according to the WBC, he did fulfill his mandatory at the WBC. So as far as the WBC goes, Stephen Kubo Fulton is cleared on that. But as the WBA sanctions go and their rules, they can put a Nui in for his belt. Yes, they can. So, like I said, I'm just waiting to hear more back on it. Um, but as of right now, he doesn't have a fight schedule. Nui right now, his belts, they're being talked about negotiating fights for them. So I think they have officially became vacated titles. So that's where Nui looks like he's headed. He's going to his fourth weight division. So until I find out more about this fight, let me know what you think. Let me know who you think's gonna win in this fight. Do you think Fulton's gonna take this fight honestly, or do you think he's gonna run? He's a runner. He's a track star. You know, Fulton's he might leave. He might leave. He might leave. And you want to know something? Look, look. Sometimes um, fighters are just not ready. sometimes you just gotta understand that there's levels to this game. And there was that kid from New York. That was terrible. He got knocked out in Madison Square Garden, and the guy was trying to tell him that there was levels to this game. And when you have to find out on a world stage and get knocked out like that, that's not where you want to find out, you know. So would I blame Fulton if he moved up in weight? Hell fucking yeah, I would. I But I would understand why he did it. You know what I'm saying? I wouldn't. I'd be mad. I'd be mad at it because we finally need a champion, a superstar, to finally get in the ring with Inoue so that these people can stop talking shit about him. We all talk about, oh, he hasn't fought anybody and he hasn't fought any superstars. Well, I wonder fucking why. We can't get these guys to sign the contract and get in the ring with him. But you're talking about all these guys don't want to fight him. Yeah, they don't want to fight him. Oh no, no, no. I knew he ain't shit. He ain't this. He's not that good. He's not. Well, then fight him. They say everything but sign the contract. You know what I'm saying? Like I said, like I've been saying, I'm going to support Nui through all this. And I'm telling you, bro, these guys are saying everything but let's fight. And they're saying that he hasn't fought anybody because look what happens when he finally gets there. And until he's knocking on your door, just like Paul Butler said just before their fight, he's watching them at the weigh-in, he's watching them at the post-fight interviews. Paul Butler's looking at Inoue like this, and he says to himself, man, he's tiny. He's a little guy. How the hell is this little dude knocking out all these people? And he said when he got into the ring with him, Inoue's presence, like his aura as a fighter, and he quickly saw he wasn't playing, and he said his sheer presence was overwhelming to him, and that's saying a lot. you know um Paul Butler was honest in his assessment of Inoue. And he said it's one thing to see Inoue like walking around, but it's another thing to be in the ring with him. And it was a totally different ball game. So like I say, like Fulton and all these guys, they can say what they want about him. They can say whatever they want about Inoue. But what they're not saying is let's fight. So let's find out where this unfolds. That's all I have for you. On to the next one. Let me hear your comments. Please like, subscribe. Um, until I get more. Peace.